Good afternoon, everybody. I actually prepared notes because I don't want to ramble. So it's my great pleasure and an honor to introduce Diana Hammer Tscheschlok, our 2001 graduate and this year's recipient of the Outstanding Young Alumna Award. I'm Teddy Amulosa. I'm in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, and I'm very proud to say that I was one of Diana's teachers. Diana was a double major in sociology and Spanish. She graduated magna cum laude in 2001 with research honor. I remember Diana as one of those students who was always engaged, has a sunny disposition, did not shy from difficult challenges. And I would say that being in statistics and research methods would be classified as difficult challenges, yeah? But probably not for her, because she got A's in her exams in methods and A's in her exams in statistics, and I'm not making this up. I look back at my class record to really make sure that I am not doing false advertisement here. In 2004, she received her master's in social work from the St. Louis University, and then got a job at the Lutheran Social Service of Illinois, working with the Latino community, the first of its kind for this area organization. She created bilingual counseling program and organized an immigration task force. Somewhere in there also, she got married to Christian, and now they have twin 9-year-old boys. She joined the University of Wisconsin Extension Fond du Lac in 2007, where she is a community natural resource and economic development educator, teaching, doing research, facilitating group discussions on topics ranging from well water safety to entrepreneurship to future planning for nonprofit. On the basis of her scholarly work and community work, she was awarded tenure and promotion to associate professor at the university. At her current position, she has many notable projects, too numerous to mention individually. But the theme that runs through all these accomplishments are her consistent advocacy for the marginalized and disenfranchised members of the community, empowering community members and giving voice to their concerns. These are hallmarks of a truly selfless and dedicated social worker that embodies IWU's mission of commitment to diversity, social justice, and environmental sustainability. And it also illustrates what late President Minor Myers Jr. exhorted graduates: do well, but also do good. In recognition of her work, Diana has received numerous awards, again, too numerous to mention, the latest being the 2016 Economic Development Annual Achievement Award from Fond du Lac County. In the words of one of her colleagues, quote, "This is what transformational education is all about." And to that, I add, this is what a liberal arts education prepares you to do. Please help me welcome Diana.
Okay, well, I wasn't nervous enough. So they brought Teddy in to say that. Teddy's phenomenal, and I enjoyed all those classes. It's 3 o'clock. We're in the Meaningful Meanings seminar. I hope that's what you were hoping to do. If it's not, you're welcome to leave and find where you really want to be on this homecoming afternoon. And if at any time you decide this is not what you want to be hearing, feel free to vote with your feet and leave. And in this case, I will warn you ahead of time, though I have not 1 but 2 parents in the room, so I can't guarantee how they will react to you leaving. But feel free. No harm, no foul on my account. So this image here is a corn maze. I live in Wisconsin now, and this is my son in a corn maze a few years ago. And meetings can feel like this sometimes. You're in it, and you don't know where you're going, how long it's going to take to get out of there, and what might be jumping at you around the corner any minute. So I thought that was an appropriate way to start. Anyone been in a bad meeting or gathering of any kind? Maybe at your church? Okay, so interestingly though, that same year that I was in the maze taking that picture, my coworker took a plane ride and took a picture of the maze from the top. And I'm hoping that in the next half hour or so we can unpack meetings a little bit so you can see it from that aerial view of where exactly are you going. You know, that there is an end in sight. You don't always have to feel like you're in the scary maze part. So we're going to talk first about what makes a great or a terrible meeting experience, then talk about some of the thought leaders I rely on, and I've learned from my cooperative extension colleagues in Wisconsin. I'm not the only one like this in Wisconsin. That's what I feel like I need to say. There's someone like me in every county in Wisconsin doing this kind of community building, local government, education, and nonprofit work there. So these are folks we rely on to do this in communities that I'll share with you, and then we'll be on to more fun at 350. So I would like you to meet a partner today, someone you don't know, which hopefully isn't too hard. That may mean go to a different spot in the room, but find someone in the room that you don't know, and we're going to use some thoughts from Peter Block. He's one of my favorite community leaders. Find someone you know the least, or in this case maybe don't know at all, and in the conversation we're going to have in a few minutes, don't try to be helpful at all. Don't say, oh, I know what you can do exactly about that meeting problem. Just ask, what does it mean to you, or why did you have that reaction, or something like that. Don't try to solve the problem for them. So I'm going to give you a minute to get up and find a partner that doesn't look like you, that you don't know, and sit next to them. And then we'll do the next step. Okay, go. Hello. Finding someone that you don't know. Okay, it sounds like you're getting acquainted. That's really good. That's the important first step. So I'm going to give you a minute now. So of your two groups, someone raise your hand and be partner A. One of you raise your hand. You're partner A. Okay. So for the next minute, you're going to talk about a really good meeting experience that you had, or a really bad meeting experience that you've had. And because we only have a minute, don't say, it was at my church, and it was the such and such committee, and so. Just give the real quick summary of, it was awful because, or it was great because, whatever the experience was. So partner A is going to talk for 1 minute. Partner B is going to just listen. No interaction at this point. And then we'll flip it. Okay, so partner A is ready to go? Hit it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, your minute is up. Now we're going to flip, and partner B will do the talking, and partner A will just listen. And it's this just listen, right? you'll list it. So 1 minute for partner B. Again, describe either a very good meeting experience you've had or a very bad meeting experience that you've had. Go ahead, partner B. 1 minute.
We're here for multiple things. So it's a number of things that makes it better. The biggest thing, I guess, is we've already made this maybe 6 months ago, maybe we're going to come this way. Let's get past this meeting. It's frustrating. So now we move to now we talk about
Okay. That was your minute and 15 seconds. All right, back up here, please. So my next question for you is to find out what you were hearing. Oops, wrong word. What elements of a good meeting did you hear, or what elements of a bad meeting did you hear? And don't share. My partner's family reunion was so awful because don't share someone else's story. Just what was the element that made it really good or really bad? No agenda was on which side? All right. So bad was no agenda. All right. What else?
On the bad side, we had someone taking over the meeting.
Taking over. Okay.
Their own agenda.
With a new agenda. Okay. What else?
Are we doing good?
Either one. Yeah. Do you have a good one?
Mutually respecting, listening to each other.
Uh-huh. Mutual respect and listening. Okay, what else? Either side. What did you hear? Yeah.
Having a plan, knowing what we're trying to accomplish.
Plan with goals even. All right. Yeah. Did you have one? No, she didn't. Okay, sorry. Yes.
A cooperation exercise.
Cooperation exercise here? Okay. So it worked, maybe. Okay. Yes.
Maybe meandering to a different topic than what you're supposed to be on.
Over here?
Not bad. Yeah.
Meandering, agenda drift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Talking about something that has been discussed before and not having done any action.
Uh-huh. Discussed before with no action, or sometimes action was taken but we're still discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other things you heard?
The bad, not listening to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is there anything else? So now we've got profiles here, right, of a bad meeting and a good meeting. Anything else maybe that you didn't hear but you've just experienced that makes something a good or bad experience?
Having an agenda published ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so two elements there. It's transparent and it's out there for people to prepare ahead. Yeah.
Getting everybody involved in the good side.
Uh-huh.
You did that very successfully.
You see where I'm going, huh? All right. Nice, yes.
Having coffee provided.
Coffee. Never hurts. And donuts. Yeah. All right, other things that make it a great experience or a terrible experience.
The lack of leadership on the bad side. The leaders not capable of leading.
Yeah, so when the person who's supposed to be taking charge doesn't.
Or they give us some hijacking or whatever.
Hijacking makes it exciting. Anything else you'd like to add? All right, so yeah, you've all had your share, it sounds like, of experiences. So so now I want to talk about what some of these thought leaders that we use in Wisconsin Extension, I'll just keep plugging it, say about these things and how to get more of this and less of this if you possibly can. This is going to happen sometimes, but again, if you're at that 30,000 foot view of the meeting, you can tip the scales to make this at least more likely, or to at least know what to do if this stuff starts to creep in. So here's Peter Black. He is from Cincinnati. I think I always get it confused, Cleveland or Cincinnati. But he is a phenomenal community builder. This is one of his many books, Community, the Structure of Belonging. And he's the one that talks about creating a wilderness for yourself in meetings. So making it a point to talk to the person you know the least and to not be helpful. And he really has a lot of good tips on guilt-free ownership of something. Don't guilt people into doing things. If they don't want to do that, let them say that, because ultimately that's more helpful to the group to get an honest no than, well, maybe later, and then it never happens. That kills it. So he has a lot of great things to say, including this quote, which applies, I think, to what the previous seminar was. Social fabric is created one room at a time, starting wherever you are right now. So it's guilt-free, but it's also no excuse, which is nice. So he's terrific. He's on YouTube and has a lot of books. Another one that I think everyone should have on their bookshelf if you're doing this at all frequently is this book, The Guide to Participatory Decision Making. This is a picture of one of the pages, and you'll see how easily scannable it is. So if you know you're going into a meeting where there's never any control, or so-and-so is going to be there, so we know we're going to hear the story about the anniversary party 30 years ago. What do you do to get ready for that? So it lists the problem, the typical mistake that people do, and then the effective thing to do. And it is so handy to just, in your 5-minute ahead of time panic, go and look at the book, and then you come across sounding like you know what you're doing. So it's really just a good resource. And then there's 2 international organizations you should know about, because this one, International Institute for Facilitation and Change, they are actually in English and in Spanish, and they send fairly, monthly emails to you on a whole bunch of different things related to meetings. How to create an agenda, how to set up a room so it works for the kind of task you're doing, what to do when, scenarios. It's just always a really good remembering point to read. So you can sign up. They also offer in-person trainings in all of Latin America, so I'm trying to find an excuse to go to the one in Uruguay at some point. I haven't figured out how to get that paid for yet. And then here, this one, Technology Participation. These folks started in Chicago in the 50s, and their methods have been used around the world in really politically sensitive government-level discussions all around the world. But they are very adaptable and applicable to a number of different scenarios. So several coworkers and I took their training a few years ago, and I've used it in tons of different situations. You can join the mailing list, again, to get tips mailed to you, and they have top trainings all over the country. So they're also just really good to know about. So what did we do just now? Some of you are already on to me here. We created community Peter Black style with the pair and share. That's the other name for it. Find someone you don't know, talk to them for a minute. And storytelling. You were sharing from your own experience, getting to know a little bit about yourselves that way. And then the full group debrief was not we, Group A, talked about X, Y, Z, and now Group 37 talked about that can get really old in a big room. Even at this size, it would get boring to go through all of you. So by asking what stood out to you from that conversation, or what did you hear, is a way to get the full room talking to each other again and not boring everyone. And then again, Peter Block's word is tribes. If you stay in small groups too long, then you start to feel like, well, our group is definitely better than you in the back corner. So you wanna pull into small groups to create the association and the connection, but then always bring it back to the full room too. So and keep shifting that back and forth. And then creating a shared understanding. So some of you, all of you, it sounds like, came into the room with some experiences of meetings, but then together we built out, what does that mean to all of us? When we say a bad meeting, we mean these things. And that is some of the things recommended in the Facilitator's Guide and Technology of Participation. Both of those are about helping the whole group come to a shared vision, or just a shared understanding of whatever it is. What is the problem? What is the goal? Where do we want to head? So those are two things we did just now. So then the other thing that we try to do a lot in Extension, we're government funded, so we need to remind people how valuable we are and how glad we are that they pay taxes to support our work in their community. And we're educational, so we try to make sure people learn things from us, or from the experience. So when we're going into meetings, we usually have two goals. There's a task goal, we were here to do something, and then there's the relational goal. Did you come away feeling any differently about the people you did the task with? So I'm going to ask you now to show me a thumbs up or a side raise or a down about your thoughts on this one in the last 20 minutes. Did you learn something that you could use at your next gathering? Thumbs up, side raise, or down. Okay. All right. And then relational. Did your personal connections to others in the room increase? Thumbs up, side raise, or down. Okay, so I'm seeing mostly thumbs up. Okay, great. So that was school's out. We can go on to more homecoming, but we do have time. So if you have questions or would like to do more discussion, I always like to hear about good and bad meeting experiences. So if you have questions, we can do that, or you can just head on out to more homecoming. So the question was, do we lead meetings on teleconference or webinar? Yes, occasionally. I don't do that too often, but we're a statewide organization, so we do an awful lot of those, and there are specific tips on how to make those go well. I don't know if, depending, what's that?
Do you have a few to share?
I could share a few, yes, thank you. Well, it depends. Some of the software that you use for these, like Blackboard Collaborate or Google Hangouts, or some of them have these tools built in, so you can kind of play with the bells and whistles that you have. But some common ways to do it are to do polls along the way. So often it'll be, like, say, me speaking and all of you out there on mute watching through your screen, but you can still do polls. So you could put a question up and have people say A, B, C, or D. What do they think? Or you could do this by having people put answers in the chat box, and then you can all see that. So those are ways to keep people, just to kind of make sure they're still breathing on the other end of the screen. There's also ways, I've never done this, but I've been a participant in webinars where they break out the people into subgroups on the phone. So if you're calling in, suddenly you're not in the plenary anymore, you're just able to talk to 2 or 3 other people, and they randomly assign that. So we did a subgroup, and then they'll say in 5 minutes we'll bring you all back together, and they do. So that's something that is out there. I don't remember what software that was that allowed it, but that was kind of cool. And it was a surprise. We just kind of said hello and hi, I'm Joe from Utah. Okay. So there you go. That's the element of surprise. Yeah.
I had some experience in teleconferences from a foreign country back when in the U.S. And it's important to be sure that the language barriers don't exist. I never had to have interpreters in both ends and
that's huge.
Make sure that everybody understands. Fortunately for us, most people will speak English, but not everybody.
Sure, yeah, that would be a good one. And in that case, maybe the writing in the chat box would help too if people could see. Well, true. True. So yeah, having interpreters and translators. Yeah. What about the rest of you? Have you done webinars? Or go ahead.
Sort of a counterpart to that idea of the bullet. There are a couple of national organizations that have so many people in the room when they're voting on legislation. Like the NCAA, well, 700 people there to quote discuss something. And so what they'll do is that they use clickers. Every one of the rooms got a clicker, and they kind of gauge the temperature of the room on the topic with a multiple choice set of questions before people make their speeches to each other, because if 98% of the folks already strongly believe for something, they don't need to be compelled to the next 25.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to do it. We have those clickers too that we use. It's called Turning Point Technology is the brand that we use, and it works through PowerPoint software. So you do your PowerPoint just like always, but then you open it in Turning Point, and then the audience members get a little clicker. It works in no other setting, but I have lost one. Someone took it home. And it has, ABCD and things like that. So you can do trivia, kind of warm-up questions, or I like to do that for demographics. How many of you live in whatever zip code, or have lived in the community your whole life, that kind of thing. You can kind of just get a sense of who's in the room, and then what do they think about whatever thing. People usually think that's pretty fun. Other thoughts?
Sorry, this is not related to meetings, but I have a question about your specific experience and what led you to an organization like this, community-based organization, and specifically how meeting planning or facilitation relates to your day-to-day work.
Okay, so that's a question about how I personally got connected into this kind of work. Circuitously is the right adverb. As Teddy said, I was here, and then I studied social work at the community level, organizational development group process, and then moved to Wisconsin. I had never heard of this job, and it's something that a lot of state extension offices don't have. Wisconsin is pretty unique with this particular position, and I didn't think I could do it. When I looked at the job description, I thought it was probably 3 people, not just one, and I didn't think any of them were me, because it was, natural resources and local government, and I grew up in Illinois. I don't know about Wisconsin local government. But the process aspect is the unifier. So if you're familiar with cooperative extension, we work on local issues. The county board and the state legislature tell us what's important where we are, and then we try to work on what that is with the community partners. So, and that changes over time. So I don't have to be a content expert in the particular topic, but the skills for this job are to help people talk about it in productive ways. So this kind of thing is useful in a natural resources meeting when people, one situation in our county was the 1 year the aquatic plants grew really thickly in the biggest lake near where we live, and people who lived along the lake were quite upset because they couldn't jet ski, and plants were washing up on their beach, and they called their state senator, and local elected officials wanted to have a listening session to hear more about what was the problem and was there anything the government could do. And so we set up the meeting to make sure people felt heard, and they could see their elected officials up here taking notes and nodding and being responsive. And so, that was a situation. And then we've done similar things for nonprofit boards where it's just 10 people trying to figure out what their next 5-year plan would look like, or what, our mission statement doesn't really fit anymore, how could we change it? So really the topic matters less than the process you use to get the job done. So I use it all the time.
You can tell me later about why plants grow like that in lakes. So I experienced that in Wisconsin.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And that's the great thing. I don't have to know any of that. I can have DNR and all the right people there to talk about it. I can just make sure they're hearing each other. So that's the fun part. Others of you, what's worked well for you in meetings or really badly that you'd like to make us laugh about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Disagree slightly with what you said. I think there are certain times when the topic must take priority.
Sure, yeah, say more about that.
Yeah, if you're dealing with a critical situation where a problem is there, must be solved.
Yes.
It's got to take the priority versus the process. Although the process may help lead to the right, to a better answer.
Yeah, so that's where I think this is both an art and a science, because not everyone comes to a meeting thinking, gosh, I just love icebreakers and I can't wait to do something silly and feel more relaxed with the people I disagree with. You know, so that's an important element, helping people build relationship. But yeah, if you're there, if it's time sensitive and it's important and lives are on the line, absolutely, you've got to solve the problem. So working that out to create the environment where a solution is possible and respect the timeline and have people still speaking to each other on the way out is a good goal. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And that's where the agenda points come in handy here too, so people know here's where we're headed. And if possible, well, most of the time it is possible to involve the people planning the meeting ahead of time. So, you know, I might come with an idea, here's one way you might do it, but is this going to work for you? Maybe not, so then we'll switch it to make sure that it does. Yeah.
Well, in our earlier conversation, Edwin, today, you mentioned something about working with nonprofit organizations wherein most of the members of the board are baby boomers like us who are ready to hand over the reign to the younger generation to take on the leadership of whatever the organization, the committee is doing. I mean, how would you facilitate that? I mean, would it be something like the older members should not feel that they will get booted out, but then how do you make sure that people will step into the leadership position? And it's not only for nonprofit, I mean, it's true in academia also. I mean, those of us in Asian studies are feeling that, you know, the leadership in Asian studies are all rest in this cohort of colleagues my age who are getting ready to retire. And how do we develop leadership? But I'd like to address the nonprofit part.
Yeah, so I was telling Teddy earlier, one of the things I did 2 years ago was work with our United Way to put on an educational program about succession planning, because she was looking around, she herself wanted to retire, and was looking around at all of the United Way member organizations, realizing, gosh, an awful lot of these executive directors are about my same age. When they leave, who's coming to lead these organizations? So in that case, Teddy, I was putting together some best practices for how other organizations have done it in our area. I had a case study of one that really planned ahead. They had a lot of time. Their director told them he had about a 3-year window, and so they got right on it and updated all their plans and started to have people shadow him in different settings, and just really made sure there was an emergency plan in place. And they called it the milk truck plan. So if someone just suddenly got run over and had a sudden absence, they would have plans in place too, because it's nice to have the luxury of planning for an absence, but unexpected absences occur too. So in that case, I was just sharing how it works well and encouraging folks to take that seriously. But that is something we're hearing more and more, is how do you build your bench of leadership so that you have more than one person who knows things. And the Annie E. Casey Foundation was a great resource on that. If you search online, they have some really excellent PDFs on sample succession plans and all kinds of templates that you can use.
I'm guessing the milk truck analogy, that's a Wisconsin group.
I think so, yeah.
You might have like a city bus.
I think their first choice was beer truck, and then we changed it to milk truck. So, yeah, you have to make one of those jumps. Yeah. Other thoughts or experiences you've had in meetings that went really well or really poorly you'd like to share?
I think communication is so important, even though we might all be speaking in English, because I just recently have had 5 years of experience of meeting with women from several countries in the world, the meetings were all in English, but you know, their not only terminology, but some of their phrases and that meant one thing for me, and something completely different from them, for them. And so it's important that communications is clarified, you know, that you really know what each other are talking about.
Yeah, that's really huge. And setting the tone that it's okay to ask that question and get clear with each other about that going in is really helpful too. So sometimes groups, if you're going to be together for a while, some will put together group agreements or guidelines that we want to follow, and you could put those kinds of things in there, that if I ask a question, it's not because I don't like it, it's because I want to make sure I'm understanding. Yeah, that's huge. I really appreciate you all sharing your homecoming afternoon with me. It's really been nice.
Thank you.